Hello, everybody. Johnny Guns Investigation, Wednesday, November 1st. How's everybody doing today? Everybody join in. Let's make some comments today on this story because it's a good one. It's breaking wide open. Today, November 1st, we're going to go over Johnny Guns Investigation, the GILGO Beach, Long Island serial killer. And this is breaking wide open right now because of the new witness that's coming out. Two witnesses. And Rex Schumerman, the alleged serial killer from Long Island, he's an architectural engineer who works in the city and then lives in Long Island on GILGO Beach, does the traveling every day, has been allegedly the serial killer of Long Island. And it all started back in 2010 when he's very well known to use Craigslist to hire call girls services to come out and perform his sexual fantasies. So 2010, he calls the Craigslist to hire Shannon Gilbert, a young escort, pretty girl. She goes out there not realizing that this guy's a nut job and he has a lot of other things on his mind, and she's trying to get away from him for her life, screaming for her life, fighting for her life, calls 911 from her cell phone. And that's how they're able to figure out where she was and pleading for help. He's trying to kill me. Help. He's chasing me. And on the 911 video, on the audio tape, which you'll all hear, you can actually hear a guy in the background as well. This girl's pleading for her life in Long Island, GILGO Beach. Nobody comes. Nobody's dispatched. Nothing at all. Karen Brigada, another girl, goes missing, which I'm going to go into as well. But that 911 led into a search that came about of finding all these bodies after bodies after bodies on Long Island, on GILGO Beach. Nobody helped Shannon Gilbert that night, who called 911, pleading for her life, running away from Rex. Who knows what he's trying to do? She says trying to kill him. She's running for her life. But her calling that 911 led into closure on so many families. And the remains found of Melissa Bethamy. Her bodies were found, her remains, on GILGO Beach, Long Island, December 11th. Maureen Barnes, her body was found, her remains, GILGO Beach, Ocean Park Highway, December 11th. Amberlynn Costello, her body was found due to that 911 call from Shannon Gilbert. Closure to these families. Megan Waterman, her body was discovered and found, her remains, off of Ocean Parkway, GILGO Beach, December 13th. Jessica Taylor, her remains were found due to the 911 call of Shannon Gilbert, opening up this investigation looking for her, but look what they found. All these other bodies, but not Shannon. Also, we found Valerie Mack, and a John Doe, an Asian descent. His body was found right there on GILGO Beach. Now, was he a driver? Was he involved? Who was he? Remains found, closure to his death for his family. Then a toddler was found on Ocean Parkway in the closest proximity to the Valerie Mack on April 4th. So now we have a toddler's body found, all in GILGO Beach, Long Island. 911, when you call 911, you're expecting help to come. You're expecting your heroes to be on the way to help whatever situation you're in. It don't matter if you're a call girl. It don't matter if you're a UPS driver. It don't matter what you do for a living. We're all an equal. 911 should have been dispatched to that woman pleading for her life. So now we have other witnesses that were led back to Rex, and now also to a New York City police detective who's also involved with Rex Humerman, the alleged serial killer, who's also involved in a very large community of a swingers club community where they swing, switch partners, and skip to my lube. You know what I mean? They are involved in this sexual party of swinging, switching partners at a club about 8 blocks from where Rex works in the city called La Trapeze. La Trapeze, people. So Rex was there with his little going to meet his detective buddy and another female, which we're not going to mention. She is the new witness. And also Karen Vergata, whose pitch is being flashed all over the place now. We're leaving La Trapeze to go to Long Island to have a little swingers party. So the new witness is in the car with the detective and Karen Vergata, the body who was found now, who was missing since 2010. This witness who was at a swingers club, who was not into prostitution or call girl services. She's just a swinger. So she's in the car with her boyfriend, who's a detective, Karen Vergata, and they're all heading over to Rex Humerman's house in GILGO Beach, Long Island, to have a sexual swinging party. So they get there and everything. Things don't go too good. Things go very bad with Karen Vergata trying to leave that home. So the detective and the witness, after all their little sexual activities have gone down, leave this house of Rex. Karen Vergata stays behind, but the witness sees Karen trying to run from the home and asking for help. She looks behind, looks at the detective and says, "Hey, something might be wrong." Looks back again, sees her running out of the house naked. This witness says something's wrong, but the detective says, no, that's just a sex game they're playing. So nothing was ever thought about this. Now, this witness, she did have this on her mind for years, never knowing what ever happened until now that Karen Vergata's photo is all over the news because the body's being found on GILGO Beach with this alleged serial killer, this Olga type man, 6'5", almost 300 pounds, Rex. Harris screaming down coming out of his house. So there's the new witness. Another witness that we have is a taxi cab driver, a female, who was ordered by Rex, who requested a female taxi cab driver only. Now, I'm going to let Court TV tell the story about this witness, okay? Because there's a lot coming out now, guys. That's all leading to Rex. And now, not just him, this police detective that we're not going to say any names, but it's all coming out. He was involved with this serial killer Rex. Not saying this cop's the killer, but he knew this Rex was a nut job. And then leaves this Karen Vergata in the hands of this guy at night, seeing her screaming for help. When you're a cop 24 hours a day. You're supposed to be doing good for this world, not involving yourself in the evils of the world. So I have a tape with Court TV that's going to go over the whole thing. We have the attorney who's going to say so many things that he has from the witness that was 100% legit, guys. So let's watch this. Go ahead, Johnny Gunn's Investigation. Hit the like, subscribe. Let's comment about this. Let's talk. Let's talk about this case because it's Long Island, guys, close to home. Hometown of John. GILGO Beach, Long Island, serial killer, buddy. Major serial killer. So let's go ahead and watch this video. You guys tell me what you think. Thanks to Court TV, my favorite.
The investigation into the Long Island serial killer began as a search for a missing woman named Shannon Gilbert, a 23-year-old who disappeared near GILGO Beach in 2010. When investigators started the search, instead of finding Shannon, they came across body after body after body on a strip of beach on Long Island. It began with the GILGO 4, then more victims, eventually totaling 10, until Shannon's remains were finally found on another nearby beach. Then, 13 years later, an arrest for the murders of the GILGO 4, but not for the murder of Shannon Gilbert. Tonight, the attorney representing the family of Shannon Gilbert reveals new information linking the accused serial killer to Shannon's murder. But first, more explosive allegations involving another one of the victims, Karen Vergata, connecting her to the accused killer. A swinger party at the accused killer's house with a cop, a witness, Karen Vergata, the accused killer, and his wife. Tonight, we continue our investigation of the Long Island serial killer. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you with us. This should be a fascinating, eye-opening hour as we take a look at the case of the Long Island serial killer. Let's begin with the accused killer. I mean, how much do we really know about him? It's not a ton. It's not a ton. And I think every time we learn something new, it becomes somewhat surprising. But what we're going to talk about tonight, I think, is the most surprising of any revelation or allegation involving this man that we've seen so far in this case. Granted, the fact that he's a serial killer, obviously, that's the baseline, like we know that already, but finding out those other details about him and his life and allegations. Big question that still is out there also is how many victims are there?
Right.
How many victims are there that are linked to him of the bodies that were found? You know, how many is he responsible for, according to investigators?
Not just those 4.
Are there bodies somewhere else that haven't been found?
For sure.
These are questions that are still lingering and will continue to linger probably for a long time. Happens in a lot of cases with serial killers. Have they told us everything? Are they hiding anything? Are there more victims out there? A lot of unanswered questions. With one of the women who was found, one of the victims who was found, Karen Vergata, I think the question, something we're going to look at tonight, is there a link between her and this accused killer? This is significant, and this is going to be the first part of our discussion tonight. And this is the one where we were like, really? Really? For several reasons. And it's because it involves an alleged wild swingers party at the house. At the accused killer's house.
With his wife there.
Okay, not like abducting someone or, no. Swinger party at his house, one of the victims there. Now, let me give you a little background about this case for those of you who forgot. The police completely botched this from the beginning, purposely, the police chief who was in charge of this investigation. So it was sluggish from the beginning. It was difficult to get any sort of traction. Investigators weren't doing their job of investigating for various reasons. But on a side note to that is the fact that these victims and their families were looking for help. And one person who stepped in is the attorney for the family of Shannon Gilbert and other victims in the case. John Ray is his name. He is the one who revealed these new shocking allegations.
Great attorney.
Take a listen.
Listen to this guy.
This is a witness who has every reason to have no bias, no interest in the case whatsoever. She was not a sex worker, is not a sex worker, and instead, back in the 90s, in the 1990s, she was what is known then and now as a swinger. She would have a sex partner, and they would go to certain sex clubs in New York City where they would switch partners with other people of like kind. One of the most important places that they would go was called La Trapeze on West 27th Street in New York, right near Rex Heuermann's office. And this was a notorious place for swapping, for switching partners. The couple went to La Trapeze, and I think it was on the wall at La Trapeze where an advertisement was placed to go to a house in Massapequa Park for partying, for switching, for swapping. They ended up going to Rex Heuermann's house. In the house was the wife of Rex Heuermann and Rex Heuermann and the other girl. The other girl who we believe to be Karen Vergata.
Jaw-dropping, right?
Definitely.
Let's get into it. Joining me tonight in New York, the attorney representing the family of Shannan Gilbert, John Ray, is back with us. Also with me, former New York State Senator Phil Boyle, and psychologist, researcher, expert on violent crime, and author of the book, The New Evil, Dr. Gary Brucata is with us. And finally, in Portland, Oregon, psychotherapist, author of The Minds of Mass Killers, Siobhan Scott is with us. Welcome to everyone. First thing I want to do, stand by. John, walk us through a few more of these details. We're at the point now. So you found a witness. So this witness has this information. So who is going to this swinging club? Where do they go? What are the circumstances of ending up at the accused killer's house?
It's amazing. At his house with his wife, serving drinks to everybody.
What the witness says is that La Trapeze, which is notorious for, it's a swingers club. They even have, you belong as a member. And to go in there, you have to have a partner, and to leave, you have to leave with the same partner. She would go there with her partner, who was a New York City police detective. And she would go where she said there were quite a few other police officers who were swingers who were there. I've had that confirmed by other witnesses from La Trapeze. She would go and there on celebratory dates such as Valentine's Day or Halloween and the like, or right around those dates anyway. And in this instance, she went with him to the place in Massapequa Park that had been revealed or advertised in La Trapeze. But they went with, in the back seat, a young girl who was hungry and disheveled, and took her with them. Now, how they came to have that girl, the witness doesn't really know for sure how her driver partner had come to have this girl, but he had her. And the peculiar thing that she mentions, the witness mentions, is that this girl is leaning over in the back seat and bent over towards one side, bent over. What she didn't know, this witness, is that Vergata had just been recently in a car accident that had disabled her back. So that little fact was an interesting fact.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they go out to Massapequa. Before they get there, they stop at a gas station, and the young girl, who we now believe is Vergata, tells them that she's worried about doing this. And she's reassured, don't worry, the partner sitting here, he's a cop. You have nothing to worry. You're in the hands of a cop.
You're safe. I'm just dropping you off at a killer's house. But you're safe.
To the house, and
I'm a cop.
The partner went with Heuermann, and apparently the swinging goes both ways in terms of sex.
So you're saying the detective and the man who's been accused of being the serial killer go off together, the two men, and Karen Vergata, who stayed there with your witness, and who else was there?
It's not clear that Vergata stayed with the witness. It appears that she also went downstairs. So she may have been part of the tryst. I don't, with Heuermann. I don't know. She didn't know. Mm. She remained upstairs with Mrs. Ellerup, with
the wife.
And she offered Ellerup sex, and Ellerup declined. The witness believes she declined because the witness is African American, but we don't know.
And has she seen pictures of Asa? The witness seen recent pictures of her, and did she still say, oh, that's the one who was there that night?
Yeah, she's seen all the pictures that, have been on TV. And so that's an interesting question. Does it create a source of great imagination to come up with this story that may not be true?
No,
you have to
not
test
at
that
all.
credibility of that, and you have to look for corroboration, of course. I tested the credibility for approximately 9 hours, 3 hours, and then 3 hours again, and then another 2 hours and an hour with the police department, an hour and a half with the police department. Detectives who sat with her and examined her in my presence. So, that was vetted as far as you could vet, and now the corroboration need take place. But many of the things that this woman said, you would say that the core of everything she said, stretching her mind back, 27 some odd years, was there. And
Thank God she came out.
the details that she gave that she could remember, they all seem to be verified, checked out. So
Now,
far, so good.
we're at the house. Not us, but they're at the house. Okay, I want to clear that up, right? What happens? Like, what happens of note to her, I guess, by the end of whatever takes place between the accused killer, the police officer, and maybe Karen Vergata?
Well, the witness says that she became annoyed, the witness, because her partner had disappeared with Rex and didn't come back. So she began to call out for him, and she was given a drink as well by Miss Ellerup. So she went looking for him, and he emerged, and it's not clear to me whether he came from downstairs or he came from a back room. That's not clear, but he emerged, and she ended up having sex with Uerman as well. She remembered it. She recalled it as she was telling the story, and but beyond that, the details are a little unclear. At one point, Uerman leaves the premises, goes out in the backyard, and starts a fire in a big vat, or a big canister of some kind. And it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, which upset the witness because the witness said, "Hey, this is going to attract the police." But in any event, the tryst ends. She leaves with her partner. But the interesting fact that she tells us is that when she arrived at the premises, they were driving the partner's car. When they left in a different vehicle that was on the premises.
That's strange.
So that would suggest that the partner and Uerman knew each other beforehand.
Of course they did.
To be able to switch cars on the premises.
Has she been able to identify this officer? So do you know who he is?
For
Has
sure.
she revealed that name?
Unequivocally, she's identified. I know his name. I know his history. We know a great deal about him. So we know.
And was he involved in the
He's
investigation of the
well-known,
Long Island serial killer?
No, he was
Okay.
not at
Okay.
all. And think about it. This is a woman who's willing to come forward, make these statements. Her memory's not going to be perfect, stretching back that long, but
She's going to
the
remember
core is
quite a
there,
bit of it,
and she
I'm
does
sure.
so under oath, where she knows she's punishable by penalties of perjury in a very important case, and does not want to have her name revealed or her identity, and isn't looking for anything, isn't looking for, to be famous, to
just
get
wants to
movie
help these
rights, to
girls.
make money, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of reasons to say that her story has credibility.
Sure.
And
definitely believe it.
these little details that just, how do they get in there if they're not true? They're kind of odd
And they
that
leave
weren't true.
without Vergata, and they see Vergata as they are leaving, right? And she's running from the house?
Yeah, what happens is when they first get in the vehicle, she sees Vergata through the window, and she says Vergata looks very upset. So she says to her friend, why are we leaving without her? And the friend tells her words to the effect that, don't worry, they're just playing a game. There's nothing, no problem.
Unbelievable.
Then
That's a
the girl
detective.
runs out of the house somehow, naked. And I mean, this is in February, and runs past the garage. So you can see where that is in the picture. And she now the witness gets upset again and says, "Wait a minute, why are we leaving her behind?" And she's told, "Don't worry, she's running. It's just a game they're playing. It's not a problem."
We rented a neighborhood
So they
naked,
leave, and
screaming.
she was uneasy about it, but didn't do anything and didn't think about it again for years until this thing crops up and she sees Vergata on television, which causes her to have an emotional breakdown because she recognizes her and says, that's the girl we left behind.
Wow. All right, let me bring in my guest, get a little bit of analysis here. Dr. Gary Brucata, I'll start with you.
Just till we get
your
to
thoughts
the
about
tape.
this alleged behavior, this witness's account. Does that strike you as something consistent or viable or potentially
to violence? Because the whole idea is you need to, number one, be able to seek out people who have a very particular look to fit your...
Where are you? There's somebody after me. Okay, where are you? There's somebody after me. Where are you, ma'am? I don't know. No, stop it, please. Stop it, please. Please stop it. Please stop it. No, please stop it. Please stop it. No.
Let me fix that.
Please stop it. No, please stop it, please. Please stop it. Please. No, what are you going to do to me? What are you going to do to me? Stop it.
Please, get him out of here.
These people are plotting to kill me.
You hear this?
That's the 911 call from Shannon
unbelievable.
Gilbert that started the whole investigation that uncovered this serial killer in Long Island. But Shannon Gilbert has not been directly linked to that killer. That was when she disappeared. They went looking for her. They found a whole bunch of other victims, but so far they have not connected Shannon Gilbert's murder to the Long Island serial killer. Now, I want to show you an affidavit from a taxi driver.
Listen to this. Watch this.
Female taxi driver, and this incident predates the disappearance of Shannon Gilbert. Here's what the taxi driver is saying. I was told by the dispatcher that the prospective passenger had asked for a female driver and that she locked herself in the bathroom in the room at the motel. A very large man came out. He appeared to have a big belly. He ran to the side street. He tried to block his face and arms. Then a girl ran out. She was petite. She was crying and shaking. She said he placed a thick white envelope on the nightstand of the room. She said the envelope was filled with cut-up paper. She said he shook her and that he was aggravated. So she ran into the bathroom and locked herself in. I saw her on TV where she was identified as Shannon Gilbert.
Taxi cab driver.
Shannon Gilbert. Big guy. Let's bring back in our guest, John Ray, the attorney representing Shannon Gilbert's family, Phil Boyle, Dr. Gary Brucata, and Siobhan Scott. All right, John, do we know the time frame of this? Like, how close in time is this, what happened at this motel, to the time when Shannon Gilbert made that 911 call?
The witness is not certain of the exact date, but she puts it in a range of approximately October of 2009 up to December of 2009, which is within months of when Shannon disappears.
And does this taxi driver identify the man who's now accused of being the serial killer as that big, large man who came out?
She does, for sure.
The witness identifies that big man as Rex Heuermann. He was trying to cover his face with his arms, putting them up in this fashion to block as he ran. And he entered into what she recognized as I think it was a green and blue, sort of, I don't know what you would call it, but SUV, truck, something. And he got in there, but she was able to see him because she had, he ran out into her lights. So she identifies him that way. But remember, she sees him again.
Right. So let's talk about the second time that she sees
not the
accused
first time.
Killer, the same female taxi driver.
The same female driver. Again,
yes.
Incident with Rex.
In this instance, which she's not sure of the exact stretch of time, whether it was a few days or a few weeks later, she gets a call from her dispatcher to go pick up somebody named Matt by a bar or at a bar over in what could have been Ronkonkoma, could have been Bohemia, which is, off the Long Island Expressway. And she goes to pick up Matt, and she's given a destination, as all drivers have been. Matt pops up on the side of the street when she pulls up on the side street, and he's wearing a camouflage jacket with what she thinks is a T-shirt underneath it, and a lanyard with what looks like a police placard of some kind. And he comes to the car and gets in the car and sits in the middle and leans over, with his arms up, and tells her that he's going to they're going to go and take the girl, a woman who was in the window of the adjoining house on the other side of this very narrow street, going to take him for a long ride in the woods.
Let me take you.
As soon as she hears this, and the guy seemed to be extremely agitated, she says, "I'm not going."
Thank God she made that choice.
He had changed the destination, and she knows from training, when they change the destination, you don't go. So she said no, she wouldn't go. He got very angry. He became argumentative. At one point, she said to him, "Would you talk to your mother like that?" And he said, "My mother is dead." He raged it out. We checked, by the way, to see if Huberman's mother was dead. She was not. Then he has a handgun, and he cocks the handgun and basically says, I just give me a reason to kill you. I already want to kill you. And she argues and says, look, you can have my keys. She turned off the car, said, you can have my keys, you can have my money, you can have whatever you want. But I am not driving anywhere. So
good choice.
The dispatcher comes over the radio and starts saying frantically, we know you're there, we know who you are, get out of the car. And meanwhile, the girl could be seen in the window right next to the car. So Huberman gets out of the car, and she drives away. But she encounters a police officer coming right down that street, so she assumes that 911 had been called and he's coming. He has his lights off, and he's cruising very slowly down the street. She encounters him, they talk, and she tells them, listen, one of your own is back there, he's having a bad day. She says that because when she was in the car, she says to the guy, because of the lanyard, are you a cop? And he says, yes. She says, from where? And he says, Brooklyn. That's where the other guy came from, the detective.
The detective was
he worked in the Brooklyn area.
From Brooklyn. All right, Dr. Gary Brucata, your analysis of this behavior that we're hearing from these two incidents at the motel with the fake money in the envelope, and then trying to get a female taxi driver to take him and another woman into the woods.
All of this is entirely consistent with somebody that has extremely specific needs to fulfill a sexual fantasy. And there is absolutely nothing in any of these stories that is shocking to me, because I've heard everything under the sun in terms of the ploys that are used by people who are generally narcissistic, psychopathic, sadistic, to lure people to precisely where they need them to be to play out those particular fantasies. We also know that people of this type, who generally begin their offenses in their late 20s, don't really stop. And over time, almost in a blueprint fashion, keep repeating an offense over and over and honing it so that it almost takes on a kind of a mechanical quality in the attempt to perfect that fantasy. And so I would imagine that we can tell an awful lot from the little glimpses of MO that may have been seen here, and little glimpses of signature and psychological elements glimpsed here about other crimes that may have happened. Right. I was particularly fascinated as a psychologist to hear the little lie about his mother being dead. I don't think it takes a Freudian to interpret what is interesting about that particular lie in that moment, and what that may say about the origins of a person's misogyny.
Okay, guys, we're going to stop it there, talk a little bit about this case. What do y'all think? Johnny Gunn's investigation, hit the like, subscribe, let's chat about this. Long Island serial killer, Rex Huberman. and his buddy, the Brooklyn, New York detective, going out, having swinging parties, not only just at the La Trapeze, but taking it back to Rex's house, where Rex's wife is also involved in these swinging parties as well, and making drinks for everybody. Seeing these young girls come over there, being hurt by her husband. We got Karen Vergata running out of the home, yelling screaming for help. We have Shannon Gilbert calling 911, screaming for help. And that's where it all goes back to this Shannon Gilbert. We need to find her body. Her family has hired this attorney who is awesome. He's doing everything he can on his own investigations to get to the bottom of everything, to figure out exactly what happened. What is he underturning here? What's coming up now? He's got these new witnesses. We have the woman that's coming out now from the La Trapeze swinging club that was heading over to the house in GILGO Beach for this party, witnessing Karen Vergata. Seeing all this over 20 years ago now has triggered this witness that we can't say her name, that was at New York City, 8 blocks from where Rex worked, at the La Trapeze swinging club. She now sees all this coming out. She sees all the pictures. I know that girl. I saw her. I was in a car with her. The boyfriend at the time, this detective, was there too. His name is out. It's all going to come down, folks. It's all coming out. This is a hell of a story. This is going to go down in history as one of the most harshest serial killers around, because it's not like he just went out picking them up, luring them in. He got them by ordering them on Craigslist, getting him through the swingers club, La Trapeze, and who knows where else, bringing them to GILGO Beach. None of these bodies would be overturned and found, none of the remains, if it wasn't for that Shannon Gilbert trying to plead for her life that night. That pisses me off that dispatcher did not dispatch a cop out there right away. Where are you at? Where are you at? I don't know. If you're running, how the hell do you know where you're at? Start pinging that phone. Get help to this woman who's pleading for her life. So now all these bodies have been found. We got Karen Vergata. She's up. Her remains. We need Shannon Gilbert's remains found. So her family has closure, and they're not going to give up. They will not give up, folks, okay? This case is wide open. It's been happening since 2010. And let's ask ourselves this question tonight. He's traveled around a lot. Oh, Mr. Rex, the Olga type man. How many other bodies has he taken? How many other families has he destroyed? How many people has he hurt? Let's hope it all comes out, because I can tell you right now, he's not the guy. He's not the guy who's going to admit to things unless you find it. But we'll see, guys. Have a great night. It's November 1st, Wednesday night, Johnny Guns Investigation. Love coming live, coming out to you guys, bringing you all the news I can. See you guys tomorrow night. See what else is up. I'll bring whatever we can right to the table for you guys. Johnny Guns Investigation signing off. And remember, guys, be safe out there. Have a wonderful night. See you.